Tim, good evening on this rainy, stormy Monday evening.
So let's not have your view of the world be gloomy, please.
No, listen. I'm very optimistic, and it's what I find fascinating is the news flow for Tesla. I would say over the last 3 months, for every positive
stormy,
story, there've been few.
Stormy.
Right. There've been 5 stormy ones, and there's another stormy one brewing. And if I had
we got to be careful. We got to be careful about using the name Stormy. Anyway, keep going.
Well, I think of it as more the Allman Brothers Stormy Monday.
Stormy Monday, but Tuesdays are just as bad.
To follow through with that, there was nothing bad for Tesla. I mean, the news flow is extraordinarily negative. Now, Elon Musk is going to be on a picket line or something, and he's saying
he's going to be on a chain gang. So look, just let's remind about the volatility around the Tesla headlines. I mean, we're talking about just the 3 to 4 weeks. In addition to, shouldn't this guy be home changing nappies? I mean, baby virtual reality has got to be looking for daddy, if not looking for his name. Anyway, is it a boy or is it a girl? I don't even remember. What do you have?
I think he had a boy, but I don't. I'm not. I wasn't.
You can't tell. Look, you can't tell from the name, so neither of us should feel bad that we don't know what the gender was, because I had no idea. But think about, between the baby throwing he's going like zero net zero footprint, doesn't need the mansion except for the Gene Wilder one. If you buy it, you can't change it. Obviously, the headlines as it relates to, hey, my stock's too expensive, which continues to run against essentially what he was mandated to do from the regulatory perspective. He's been inciting a lot of just the commentary as a result of the bizarre response in the earnings call. For example, when asked about a cash position, he then went off on talking about fascism. So again, I don't want to be too conspiracy minded for fear that the Tesla bots will become raging at my door, if not at Twitter. But what do you think's going on with this guy? Because even relative to himself, this has been a wild time for your boy Elon.
I will say this: it appears as though he has some sort of air cover, and obviously I'm not privy to anything. But what I will say is, Joe Kernan interviewed President Trump at Davos. I think must have been in January. I don't know, January or February, and Joe asked President Trump a number of questions, and he brought up Elon Musk. And I thought the response from President Trump was interesting. And, he basically said, and I'm paraphrasing, we need to protect our brilliant minds. And, we've done a lot for Tesla and Elon Musk, and, they're going to do a lot for us. And again, I'm paraphrasing. You should go back and listen to the interview. But with that said, ever since that point, the stock has basically only gone straight up. And I'm not putting a tinfoil hat on. And
what's
I'm
a tinfoil
not a conspiracy
hat?
theorist.
I don't even know what that means.
The conspiracy theorists wear tinfoil hats. You should go to your Google machine after this.
Why? Why do they do that?
They're concerned that like the rays are going to get into their brain somehow. Right. Anyway, I digress. My point is this: you can't. It's been extraordinarily difficult to bet against the stock. And the last thing was, you mentioned it. When the CEO of the company, the founder of the company, says the stock is too expensive and it basically doesn't move, that's telling you all you need to know.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of different issues with Tesla, and I've been out there as a critic, a skeptic of a lot of things, including notably the balance sheet. But I've been just downright concerned about the valuation. It doesn't make any sense. Ultimately, my biggest issue is there's no corporate governance as it relates to Reg FD, or as it relates to essentially, the same rules that govern every other CEO and that govern investors. So this is the kind of stuff that really hacks me. I don't own a Tesla. If I did, I might be one of the advocates. I understand it's a phenomenal car. Although they can't build that Model 3 for $45,000, it's a great car. The day that he's asked about the cash burn in the quarter, which was $895 million, he flew off into a tangent and completely changed the topic, which is something else that is very similar to what goes on in the White House at some time. But I feel like we're turning this more into the political rant that it's not going to be. I think Tesla is a stock that is certainly not bound by fundamentals. And as I will say, I don't think either side of $400 bid ask on this stock, either price makes sense. So that's where we are with the news flow. Nothing short of extraordinary.
You know, we brought up watching The Last Dance a couple times, and obviously there was a book written called Jordan Rules, and Michael, it's his own set of rules, and I think that's exactly what's going on here with Tesla and Elon Musk. You know, it's the Musk rules or the Tesla rules that they play by, and nobody else is sort of has access to. I guess in some ways, good for them, but I think that's really what's going on here.
I think the bigger issue is can Scottie Pippen ever overcome, sitting on the pines and not getting off the pines because they called the play for Kukoc? I mean, it's one of these things. I've been watching The Last Dance, and one of the things that has kind of resonated with me and kind of come through is I've actually become more of a Scottie Pippen fan. Never liked the guy. I thought his game was decent. I didn't think he was a top 3 or 5 NBA player, as they seem to be characterizing him here. But he actually seems like a sensitive man who at times was somewhat misunderstood. But this reeks of nothing more, and it's not a new story. So I'm just being reminded that this guy was so selfish as to not want to get in the game in the most important moment of really one of the most important games of his life, because the play wasn't called for him.
It's fair. Listen, but there's a huge backstory to that as the series talks about, and not least of which, Scottie Pippen might have been one of the top 5 players in the league at that point, and he was the 102nd highest paid player in the NBA. It was ridiculous,
Unrelated,
and I think he was
unrelated.
No, maybe, but I think it gets
so
to
he's
a
going to
certain
sit
point
down.
where you know what. And, Jerry Reinsdorf or Jerry Krause, I think it was, famously was salivating over Tony Kukoc before he even put on a Bulls jersey. Meanwhile, Scottie Pippen already won three titles for the Bulls. And he's like, what about me? So there's a part of me that can understand it. I'm not thrilled with it, but I totally get it.
This was a time, by the way, we were getting our first real influx of those Eastern European players. Obviously some sad stories like Dragan Petrovic and whatnot, great ball players over there. But remember, like the Eastern European, the Iron Curtain players were becoming a big part of the story. And by the way, when you watch The Last Dance, at least the episode last night, again, because we're going to watch this 4 or 5 times each episode, because it's just what we have right now. The guy who walks with Jordan through like the tunnels, the guy with the frizzy, like permed out hair, who looks like he's about 55, and the stash. It's like a mullet, like a perm mullet. It's worth looking at again.
It's United Center security, apparently.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, Jordan had so many hangers on. It's amazing. Michael Jordan says it's hard being Michael Jordan. We didn't get around to it tonight because we're running out of time, but this Amazon AMC story is a big story. Maybe we should touch on it tomorrow, but quickly, in your opinion, can Amazon legally buy AMC, given what's going on out there in the antitrust world and what have you?
We again, I don't know what goes on in antitrust anymore because there's been a lot of inconsistency. I do think it's a smart move. I think it's a company that isn't just down on COVID-19, which all movie theaters are. This is a stock that's been in free fall for 4 years for secular reasons around movie theaters. By the way, last time I went to one of those AMCs with my kids, so I was with my kids and we were watching that Robert Downey Jr. movie where he's Dr. Dolittle, which was not very enjoyable. But the fact that those chairs totally recline and go
it's a
flat,
little weird. And for somebody like me who's once horizontal falls asleep, especially if it's a
you sawing wood. Have you ever sawed wood in a movie theater?
100%. I mean, 100%. With that said, maybe we'll talk more about this tomorrow. But I encourage you. You mentioned Eastern European basketball players, of which the Knicks never had one. The Knicks tried to do something with a French player, and all I encourage you to do is Google Frederick Weiss.
Frederick Weiss. Well, hold on, Frank Nikielin, or whatever the guy's last name is. I mean, that guy's French. He was the number 6 overall. And Gallinari he's Italian, but we'll call that Eastern Europe. And I liked him, by the way. That was the Carmelo trade. See you tomorrow.
See you later.